Howdy, y'all. Now, on today's episode, we are going through something extra special. But you see, fan fictions are the core of all fandoms. So, fan fiction is where upcoming authors are able to come together and create something new. Sometimes for better or for worse. Ready, y'all? On today's episode, let's dive into Fandom Talk, where we will talk about fan fictions. Hey everybody, Elsie Rosie here, and welcome back to the Oh Ship Show. On today's episode, we are diving into, as Reese said earlier, Fandom Talk with fan fiction. Woo woo! On our last episode of Fandom Talk, Chris gave you all the proper definition of fan fictions, and I'd recommend you check that video out to hear his words on it. But as he said in that video, we decided to dedicate a whole video to what fan fictions are. So on this video, we will be talking about fan fictions, the history behind them, some fun facts, and we'll just sprinkle in and see. So guys, I am now actually going to quote an article from Bustle called Why Fan Fiction is Good for Readers and Authors. I would totally recommend this article. It will be down in the description along with the rest of the sources that we reference in this video. So the quote that I found was really good, like really matched with what the message we're trying to go for, is fan fiction is another side of the literary world where everyone, everything, and every story is welcome. And that's true. Fandom gives you so much freedom in exactly what you want to do, and it allows a lot of authors to be themselves and actually explore what they want to do, especially with characters that they're comfortable and proud of. So, Reese, I'm going to let you take it away to dive into your favorite topic of fan fictions. Let's go. Alright guys, Reese, take it away. Now that we got two great definitions of fan fiction, let's dive right in and go in even deeper. Are y'all ready? So, let's make this very clear. We are not ignoring the assumptions of fan fiction here. No. There's a ton of them. Fan fiction has an interesting rep in the pulp culture community. Fan fiction is usually regarded as typically bad written, usually has a lot of adult themes, let's say, and also is usually written by an obsessed fan who can't function without their so-called fandom. No denying that there are some fan fictions like that. Doesn't mean they all are. Some of them are works of pure gold where they take the characters that you love from your shows and put them in a whole different scenario and makes it a lot of fun. It's a very interesting concept and I love it. It's definitely a spot where people are able to explore different things. Like in fan fictions, or fanfics as people also call them, fan fictions allows people to express some needs that they aren't usually allowed to show or isn't usually acceptable in the public eye. When I'm saying this, I mean racial identity, race, different faith practices, people in the LGBTQ plus community, a lot of different things like that. And it's a big thing to know that like a lot of these things are explored in these fan fictions because fan fiction provides a lot of people with a lot of freedom. And I do admit it is assumed that whenever there's two guy characters in a TV show, it is often assumed they're just shipped together just because. And of course it does happen. Some people genuinely ship it. Like, you never know. Alright, Elsie, hop over so that way you can explore the different types of fan fiction. Hell yes! It's important to recognize that there's a ton of different forms of fan fiction. Fan fiction isn't just pure smutty loveliness that's usually badly written. Nah. We got fluff, which usually means super adorable and like really like soft and sweet stuff. Like, you know, that cutesy Valentine's-y stuff that we're all like, oh. We have AUs, which are alternate universes. So that's when you put characters that maybe in a fictional sense, like let's say, I don't know, something really obscure like Star Trek. We take them and put them in the modern world. That would be pretty weird since it's a sci-fi show all about them traveling in space. But they're alternate universe fan fictions with Spock and Kirk and many of the characters in Star Trek where like they have a coffee house or something. You know, something, it's not like the Star Trek community is that big anyway. More on them later, guys, don't worry. There are also a lot of crossovers with other fandoms. One that I've seen a lot of is the Has Been Hotel one, which is one that's basically taken over YouTube. That one was crossed over a lot with Five Nights at Freddy's and Bendy and Mink Machine. But they've had a lot of interesting crossovers and different things. And crossovers don't have to be just cartoon and cartoon. I have seen people do cartoons with people or people with like crazy different things. That's the whole good thing about fan fiction, is it's completely up to you what you do. Like, you're just supposed to have fun, you're supposed to embrace it, you just go nuts. There's a little bit of everything, honestly, in fan fiction, which is so much fun and really, really great. The big thing is, though, is that because there's so much freedom in making fan fiction, sometimes you're gonna see things that you don't like or just don't handle. And there are ways around that. And there are ways you can do so that way you don't need to see it. Because everybody can write whatever they want, but you don't have to read it, is the big thing. Like, I know personally I'm not good with like sexual assault stories. Those freak me out. So, for instance, let's say I wanted to read, I don't know, like some Bilbo Baggins and Thorin. You know, give me some good stuff from The Hobbit. So I put their names into Archive of Our Own, which is a great fanfiction website that I totally recommend using. So if I put their names in, this is the amount of fanfictions there are of these two. That's a lot, okay? But let's say I only want to read fluff. I don't want to read sex. I don't want to, I don't want to read any, I don't want to read gore. I don't want to read adventure. I just want like fluffy stuff, like fluff. So if I go down into the tags, then I can click, okay, I only want fluff, and then exclude everything else. And then I'd only get fluffy fanfiction. It's great. Not all fanfiction sites do that, but it is really helpful when they do. So I would totally keep an eye out for those and look for them. And if they don't have them, that's okay. Just, if you see a fanfic that you're like, this isn't really my style, don't read it. Everyone, honestly, go nuts. Everyone has their own little thing. I get most of my fan fiction through Archive, but I also would recommend Wattpad, fanfiction.net, DeviantArt, wherever you can find a good spot for fan fiction, honestly. It's a lot of fun. Also, fun fact, there has been multiple cases of fan fiction being published in the real world, which kind of blows my mind. And the biggest one that I googled was a lot of stories about Twilight fanfics being published, and I'm like, alright. Reese, I do believe you have some more fun facts things to say. Reese is going to dive into mine and his favorite aspects of fandom life, shipping. Elsie is very right. Honestly, a big thing that I love in fanfiction personally is shipping. So someday we will do a full episode just on shipping, because Elsie wants to make that video every single thing that she ships at that moment. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe that won't happen, but we'll see, because it might take a minute. But shipping in its simplest terms, meaning believing that two or more people or creatures deserve to be in a romantic relationship together, at least in this sense. I am a hopeless romantic, so sign me up, y'all. I love romance. I love reading about two characters that get to be together. Especially, I am a hopeless romantic. Oh my goodness, sorry y'all, my neighbors are so loud. But I am a hopeless romantic for those classic, and I mean classic, Romeo and Juliet scenarios. Oh my, I have such a soft spot for them, I know. And usually shipping is used a lot in different fan fictions, but not always, as much as it wounds my heart to admit. Shipping is not for everyone. Like, for instance, Chris does not like it, which I think is hilarious. The big thing that I want you all to take from this fandom talk is that fan fiction is meant to explore with the characters that you already love, in a sense, created by fans for fans. It's a lot of fun thing. But how was this started? It's easy to look back and read fan fiction now because you can just pull it up on your phone and look up a website. But was it always like that? Nah. What's the history behind fan fiction? Well, everybody, sit back, relax, and I hope you all are ready for a little history lesson with your boy Reese. Now let me dive y'all back into so we can learn about the first ever record of fan fiction, at least the one that I could find. I did a lot of digging. So it all started way back when. Like, I mean, like way back, like 1920s, at least here in the US, that's essentially where we were able to find it. That's the first record I could ever find. And actually it was published in a magazine. Although instead of calling it a magazine, they called it a fanzine, which is basically a magazine created by a fan. But what is it? Let me actually give you the proper definition taken from their Wikipedia page, because there isn't a lot of information out about these guys, which I was very surprised about. This is pretty cool. So a fanzine is a blend of fan and magazine, or zine, is a non-professional and non-official publication produced by enthusiasts of a particular cultural phenomenon, such as literary works or musical genres, for the pleasure of others who share their interests. Interesting. Guys, the first one came out in 1926, and the first one that was publicly known at least came out around that time. Well, actually, backtrack. But isn't it interesting that back in the 20s and 30s, fans were called enthusiasts? I like that. I think we should bring that term back. Let's call each other enthusiasts again. The first ever, thing that started all of this was actually the first science fiction magazine published by Hugo Greenback Experimenters Publishing in 1926. So that was the first magazine that officially was like, hey, we are just science fiction. Which was great, because that was when Star Trek was really hitting it up, and people were having a lot of fun with different galaxies and different universes. People were having a lot of fun. But in that first source called Amazing Stories, which I like that name, I think it's cute. This magazine by Gernsbergs also included a special section in the back, which I think would be illegal now, but it's fine. In the back of the book, it had a letter column, which had the addresses of everybody who bought the magazine or who had it delivered to them. Kind of like a letter column, write to somebody who likes what you like kind of thing. And why was people possibly illegally sharing others' addresses somehow connected to the first ever fan fiction? Well, when the readers of this Amazing Stories magazine found out that there were other people who liked these stories too, they were like, oh, awesome, and they started writing letters to them. People began exchanging stories of their own, or different fan fictions, you could say, created that by themselves for the work that they were reading, things that they enjoyed, and they just kept flipping and flipping. And it wasn't just from Amazing Stories, it was also rotated around the Star Trek fandom, for instance, which more on them later. They are very important in this. Star Trek is the grandpa of all fandoms, because they're really the grandmother, I should say, because grandma knows what's up. But basically, Star Trek essentially founded everything for us, and now we're just kind of building off of them. A big thing that was really popular in the Star Trek fandom, which is still very popular now, is the concept that Spock and James are a couple. Honestly, I see it. I'm like, okay. I've got nothing really against it. I'm like, alright. But because these fans began coming together and writing letters to each other about Spock and James and their miscellaneous stuff, or other fan fictions of other works that they did, what ends up happening was people wanted to share their work. They wanted more people to read their works. They wanted more friends. They wanted more attention to this. So eventually, people began putting all their works together in a magazine. And in 1930, a company called Science Correspondence Club in Chicago published the first ever fanzine. Oh, that's such a weird thing to say. A fanzine called the Comet, later known as the Cosmology. I'm probably saying that wrong. But it was published by the fans for the fans. People came together and wrote up on typewriters or whatever they really had access to. It was really inspiring. People just wanted to do that. And as soon as coloring and more printing became more and more accessible, it boomed. People were like, yeah, we want more of this. Yeah, we want more of this. More and more fanzines were shared around. And now fanzines can still actually be found on public forums online, although they're not usually called that anymore. Pretty cool, gotta admit. And fun fact, there's an award now around that guy. Remember way back, Hugo Gernsback, I think I'm saying his name right, the guy who originally published that Amazing Stories magazine? Yeah, now there is a Hugo Award, which is an annual award for the best science fiction or fantasy work and achievements of the previous year, given at the World Science Fiction Convention and chosen by its members. Thank you, Wikipedia, for giving me such amazing quotes and great information. Thank you. I hope y'all know, but yeah, Hugo is the man who originally published that first magazine, and now we've got an award named after him to help it all balance out. I think that's amazing. Y'all, that was so freaking cool. We gotta learn so much about fandom's history. We gotta learn so much about like little extra fun facts and all this great jazz. That was really fun, y'all. Thank you so much for sharing this journey with me. I really enjoyed that. Well, hey everybody, I will see you all next time for our next fact about fun facts, histories, and definitions of everything and anything in fandom. Thank you, everybody. Elsie, take it away. I will see you all next time on the O Ship Show. Hey, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been really great getting to see you all again. Sorry about the little craziness of the new background. We'll be flitting around with new backgrounds and figuring out what's good so that we will get in the roll of things. And as soon as school starts again for me, then things will get a bit more normal. But yeah, thank you, Reese, so much for joining me today with Fandom Talk. I love getting to talk about fan fictions. I think our next episode for next month will be fan art. Although we might need to merge that with some other stuff. But yeah, I hope you all learned a lot about fandom and you guys had a lot of fun learning about some new stuff. Thank you all for tuning in for this fantastic adventure in Fandom Talk. I'll see y'all next time on the O Ship Show. Bye!